All right, everyone. You remember Soph? You know, the YouTuber is now approaching 1 million fans. Yeah, she's being investigated apparently by her local police due to complaints from her school. So her school has decided to harass and bully her, much like a bunch of others. She's got some of her fellow students like protesting the existence of her ability to speak freely. And I'm just thinking to myself, how fucking surreal could it possibly be when you've got a situation where someone who is making very comedic, obvious satire of a political nature and happens to be high functioning is being harassed by a bunch of adults, and you have some sort of dumbass national debate over whether this individual has the right to speak. At no time was any violence incited by anything that she said. If you actually watch like the initial video in question that sort of became more viral and caused her to be almost deplatformed on YouTube, there's no call to violence. There's nothing of that nature. And I find it funny because some people are like, well, she's not 18, so the right to free speech doesn't kick in. Okay, so in other words, all those kids that like do school walkouts for BLM or something like that, so basically, fuck them, they can be charged with truancy or something. Is that the road the liberals want to go down now, is that you have to be 18 to have any rights at all? So in other words, it's okay if you take a bunch of like hormones and like, transgender yourself when you're 8 or 9. That's brave and stunning and wonderful. Or if you're, pole dancing or something. But if you have a YouTube channel and you express largely satirical views that happen to be non-politically correct because you have a functioning fucking sense of humor, that's a big problem. By the way, link in the description to her BitChute channel, because if she ever gets banned off YouTube, haha, the videos are still there because we have alt tech now, so fuck it. And by the way, don't the Marin County police have any goddamn thing better to do with their time than to investigate a 14-year-old who's been making this kind of content now for several years anyway? So all of a sudden it's a problem. For several years she's making edgy political content fairly clearly with a satirical sort of twist to it. And nobody has a problem. She gets popular, gets to that sort of pinnacle, and all of a sudden it's a huge problem. Then the police need to get involved. Parents are worried because she said something about jihad or something. Who cares? Who figured, was a law broken? And by the way, the link in the description there, the archived one, is like, well, this has started a debate over free speech versus hate speech. There's no legal such fucking thing as hate speech. It doesn't goddamn exist. What do these morons what don't they get? There's no such thing. You can say hateful things if you want. Is it inciting violence? Is it encouraging proper destruction of property or something like that? Are you specifically harassing an individual, like you're following them around saying weird shit to them? If no, or you're defaming someone, if the answer is no to these basic fundamental questions, it's not hate anything. It's just free speech. The fact is that when the founders created the country, they would have said, yeah, absolutely, the First Amendment does apply to people who are younger than 18 years of age. Yeah, absolutely, at the most basic level. The idea that you would disarm a 10-year-old back then if they were properly functioning would have been strange to them. Oh, your young man here is a good shot. Oh, I think we should take his guns. What, are you fucking nuts? Oh, no, you can't speak because you're not old enough. Don't you think there are people that fought in the revolution who weren't 18? Oh, yeah, they were all in their 20s when the average lifespan was like, what, in the mid-40s or 50 years old or something. I'm sure there were no 12-year-olds that took up arms in defense of their people. Not that this is necessarily comparable, but on a First Amendment basis it is. The idea is this. Fundamentally, with regards to the internet, which road do you want to go down? Do you want to scrap the idea of the First Amendment and have like state-controlled internet like a China or a Venezuela? I don't think that even the most far-left individuals want that. They like to ship posts too. They just like to do it anonymously while complaining about anonymous posting. Or do you want an intervened-in internet by corporations, which is what they seem to be suggesting, that a bunch of fucking corporate entities should get involved? Or do you want the same free and open internet we've already had that has already been working in proper order now for decades? It was already edgy. There's already been edgy stuff. How many instances of actual violence have been spawned by incitement on the internet? That's my question. I don't mean radicalization. That's a bunch of bullshit. If the internet didn't exist, somebody who had edgy beliefs or who was naturally violent or who was kind of extreme, literally extreme and, cutting cats' heads up, they can find other material to absorb to reinforce their violence. If anything, the internet creates catharsis, allows them to encounter views opposed to their own rhetoric, and hopefully it talks them down from the ledge. The internet, in my opinion, should be completely uncensored. The only thing that should apply is the basic rudiments of U.S. law, and we should also apply the First and Fourth Amendments. No, Facebook should not be selling your material to Chinese companies. No, it shouldn't happen. And he should have been. Zuckerberg is the real problem here. So Soph is not going to carve your kid's head off. But some mega billionaire fucking donor class individual can certainly throttle unpopular political opinions and prevent reform. Can potentially squish out a burgeoning liberal movement, potentially. What, you think that these people are actually like far left progressive? No, they're using that as a shield, basically, for their own censorship. Silicon Valley wants censorship, so they say think of the children. This has happened over to, don't you remember the Patriot Act, liberals? Or did you all fucking sell out? If you look at Soph's videos, you will see a clear pattern of satire. You will also see that she's been making the same kind of content in one form or another for years. As far as I know, never had any problems. Until all of a sudden people had a big ass fucking problem because of some post on a forum somewhere that was also clearly tongue-in-cheek. Yes, let me put it this way. I am sure that Soph actually intends to requisition nuclear weapons and bomb other countries with them. Yeah, that's really incitement. Now, it's called hyperbole. It's usually used within a funny satirical context. Yeah, and all of a sudden she starts interviewing people. Here's what I think caused the attempt to deplatform. Here's what I think is ultimately responsible. She branched out and started doing interview stuff. Now, one of the things that the leftists that were attacking her had always said is, well, her parents make her content. It's all scripted, and she's actually she's basically being used. And so people would be like, oh, well, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, how can a 14-year-old be so well-spoken? But then she started doing live interview. That's a little bit different because you can't really script that the same way now, can you? It's impossible to actually be controlled and scripted by your parents if you're reacting to another human being in real time. I think they freaked out at that point because they're like, well, here we got this individual, she's got decent editing skills. She obviously she's not going to pull any punches. She doesn't care if you get upset at the content, so, the guilt tripping goes out the window. And now we can't even say that she's like, it's hackery or whatever you'd call it, that it's just a gimmick. We can't say that anymore. Oh, shit, and by the way, she's joining what the Data Society would say, the team of influencers, the alt-right adjacent people, because apparently if you talk to someone, according to these morons, you agree with them. Even if you talk to them in the form of a debate. Like, I'm linked to people that I've only ever debated according to the Data Society. It's really funny. So you can be like a libertarian, and yet you're somehow alt-right adjacent because you don't simply shut yourself off from the world and retreat into the echo chamber that they want the internet to resemble. They want echo chambers. They don't want all of the liberal kids encountering libertarian opinions or some tradcon offshoot movement because it might change their mind. Oh my god, no. The only one that should be able to branch out and be pushed anywhere is our milquetoast neoliberalism, namely corporatism. That's the whole fucking point. They don't have a problem with any moral argument involved with this. And as far as the police go, they should be ashamed of themselves for investigating. They should be ashamed of themselves for taking seriously the idea that a 14-year-old making satirical videos on YouTube is a credible threat to their fellow students. And she should turn around and sue them for doing that. She should sue on the basis that her First Amendment rights are fundamentally being violated. Her right to privacy is being violated by the mass media. They're trying to dox a 14-year-old kid. This is no different than Covington. They didn't do anything wrong either. So yeah, I stand with Soph fairly clearly there. Yes, I would gladly platform her on my channel if she ever got cut loose by these other sites. BitChute link in the description. You should join her there. She's, I believe, Sewer Nugget on Twitter, although they'll go after that at some point, I'm sure. Not sure if she's got a Gab yet. Probably should. Again, advice is get on there. Get on Subscribestar, because Patreon is... Look, Patreon is going to deplatform you. That much is clear. They're going to look at this. The liberals are going to take this story and say, look, she's being investigated for possible threats of violence. Patreon is going to say, sorry, this is manifest observable behavior. You can't use our platform anymore. Even though it's not actually manifest anything, it's just speculation based on a forum post that I'm not 100% sure was even credibly proven to be her. And by the way, who fucking cares? You can be hyperbolic in a satirical context and say weird shit and not mean it. It's just like in the heat of the moment, sometimes two people are fighting, they say things that under some contexts might technically be unlawful. It might rise to the level of a credible threat of harm or something. But in that hyperbolic context, it's totally different. People need to understand that and choose a fucking side. Do you believe in free speech, or do you think that a bunch of fucking billionaires should be telling us what we can read and what we can ingest? Because as a subscriber of this individual now, I'm prevented from accessing her content, even though I'm not going to be radicalized by it. I have no problem with it, and I am voluntarily associating with that material. I am voluntarily watching it. I, as a consumer, I think have a right to do that, and as a creator, as a fellow creator, it does threaten my livelihood when the platforms that I'm on make dumb mistakes to deplatform people. It makes me feel threatened by, in some cases, the state itself, when police are being weaponized based on a whim, based on shitty reporting by a bunch of morons within the legacy media, to say that there's some sort of credible threat based on a forum post that can't even be tangibly linked, as far as I'm 100% aware, to this individual. To start several police investigations over material when she's been making the same material for 2 fucking years? It's a bunch of Burning Times bullshit. This is exactly what happened with like Stern and the FCC back several decades ago. It's the same shit that happened with heavy metal in the 80s. It's exactly the goddamn same. The same moral busybodies who simply cannot leave others alone because their own lives are so fucking pathetic that they have a problem with the fact that a 14-year-old says fuck on a YouTube video. And as for her school having a problem with it, fuck the school. Fuck them. Change schools. Find one that'll respect your First Amendment rights. That's about all. Peace out.